Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is King Fortune, and we are here for a Q&A session. And as you see before me, we have a little board set up in order to answer whatever inquiries come up. So let me put on some music. What's the deal? What's the deal? So before we get started here, of course, y'all know that there are various ways to receive answers from the spirit or the intelligence, the universe, God. Yon Samsara, what's up, Marvin and Magi? What's the deal, everybody? Now, again, we're going to jump straight into it. What's up, 305 Capricorn? We're not going to waste any time. If any questions comes up, just let me know. What's up, Luna? If not, it is what it is. We're going to keep it pushing regardless. What's up, Darth? I appreciate everybody tuning in. So, we have the Crows deck in front of us. We also have a set of runes. What's up, Rael? And we have a regular playing card deck here. What I want to do here is just to inform those who are not aware that this regular playing card deck can be used just as a tarot deck as well. What's up, Loa X? Now, but we're not even going to get into the specifics. I'll leave that for the website, AshaRenu.com. But what I will do is, if you glance at the back of the card, this deck particular right here, you see that this is a multi-dimensional card. Let me actually give you a close-up for those who may not be able to see. You see the planet or the earth or the flat plane here, and you see multi-dimensional layers surrounding this plane. So you see the earth or Geb, then you see Nut or Nut, symbolized as the stars. And you have 3 dimensions of stars, right? So you have this layer, the inner layer, you have the barrier, then you have the outer layer. So you have the earth and you have the 3 layers of stars, you can say. The earth with 3 layers of stars. So if you were to guess, of course, this relates to the 4 worlds of the Kabbalah, which correlate to the 4 elemental forces: desire, emotion, thought, and memory, specifically your DNA codes. So, for example, if you were to pose a question to the tarot, you could randomly allow yourself to place your hand or your finger or the pen, pencil, whatever tool you may be using. Some people use pendulums. I have a pendulum right here, right? You can place it in the middle, just let it do its thing. There's many different ways to do this, but this is not necessarily a video about reading tarot cards. We have many videos on that as well. But what I want to do here is just let it be known that, because there's several tarot decks here. I have pretty much every deck, but we're not going to bring out every deck. But depending on the back of the card, but I want to do this. I want to show you the several backs of the tarot cards, because I just released a video on the website called How to Read the Back of Tarot Cards. But just to briefly explain, let's just use that as an example. If we are looking at the back of this tarot card, you see that there are at least 72 hieroglyphs on the back of this Egyptian deck. There are 72 hieroglyphs correlating to the 72 Goetia, or the 72 chakras of the pineal gland. So each hieroglyph is an actual dimension. So once you can identify the dimension that you are working within, once you flip over the card, you have greater insight. But again, I went into further detail on the website. But just to give y'all some brief examples of, there are multiple ways to discover answers. Now, we also have a crystal ball right in front of us. And some people may consider themselves a crystal ball gazer or a seer, so on and so forth. I guess this is really not necessarily as popular as it once was. In the older times where you would actually go to crystal ball gaze, there's probably many people that don't even know how to use it. However, as we see that the crystal ball is blackened, most people are used to the see-through or the crystal quartz crystal balls. But we see we have the black ball here, which serves a different purpose, which we don't necessarily have to get into. But I just want to identify why everything is here. We also see some runes right in front of us for those who are not familiar with the runes, which is a set of, it could be sometimes 16, it could be sometimes 25, a set of 16, a set of 25, or even a set of 30 runes, which are all spirits or dimensions in and of themselves. Most people, again, use these tools just to, let's just say, answer basic yes or no, or you can say lower magic, Venus magic, asking about, people, places, and things, monies, relationships, connections, so on and so forth. Nothing wrong with this. But we're going to focus on the high science here. We're going to focus on how deep can you truly go with these spiritual tools? Is it just a tool to answer questions? Or are these tools to master the known universe? Because we know with the tarot decks, you have 78 dimensions, 78 cards, and sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's going to be less. But norm or the traditional number of tarot cards is 78. With runes, again, you have 16, sometimes you have 25, sometimes you have 30, so on and so forth. The reason there's so many variations of tarot cards, runes, spiritual tools, the reason there's so many variations because there is no limit to what can be done with these tools. For example, going back to the pendulum, most people just let the pendulum dangle, ask a question, let the pendulum rotate, left, right, up or down, whatever, whatever. This is the basic. But when we take it to an advanced level, what's up, Mims? When we take it to a advanced level, a pendulum can be a healing tool to invoke and evoke spirits. Invoke and evoke spirits utilizing your pendulum, utilizing your tarot cards, utilizing your runes or whatever spiritual devices you may have. Because they can be used in advanced ways, the mainstream most of the time keeps that level away from the public. Most people have no idea how to utilize the tools that they have in their very households. But we're going to break the spell. We're going to let it be known from this point on that whatever spiritual devices that you have, that they are infinite in their abilities to assist you. It's not as straightforward that we have been taught to believe. Again, just like with the tarot cards, I've already shuffled the deck here. As an example, see, most people may ask, let's just say, I'll ask a tarot, how do I increase my sexual lifestyle? Just as an example here, let's see what the card says. Let's flip it over. The Knight of Cups, which is what? Spellbind charisma. You see, it's right in tune with the question I just asked. In order for you to increase your sexual lifestyle, you have to be able to put a person into a spell bind. We're not talking about roots. We're not talking spells. We're talking about being able to hypnotize a person with your charisma. As you see the lizard It's very charismatic just based off of its aura and energy. So to be able to increase your sexual lifestyle, you have to increase your charisma. And there are various levels to charisma. The mastery of your charisma will allow you to literally put a person in a trance state just by being in your presence. It's not necessary that everybody aims to do that. That a natural result of you mastering your craft. So again, this is more of a traditional basic way of utilizing the tarot or any spiritual device. But let's take it a step vice. But let's take it a step further. Let's just say you wanted to invoke a spirit. You wanted to channel the intelligence of a particular being, a particular person. This is going more so into necromancy, being able to awaken the spirits. Again, we don't really associate tarot cards with doing things like that. People may associate crystal balls with necromancy, they may not. They may associate roots and skulls, so on and so forth. But not really tarot cards. However, the tarot is used to invoke all type of spirits. For example, let's go into the runes here, because we have runes to the left and the right. The reason why I have more over here, these are the runes I've already worked with. These are the runes that I am currently working with. So I have about 5 runes left out of the 24 or 25, because you also have a rune what sets you by. You may come. They may have an extra rune, which I have here in this cup of water. As you see, there's a rune within this cup of water. These runes are lapis lazuli, which is helpful for the third eye chakra or the pineal gland for stimulation, dreams, divination, so on and so forth. So we don't just have runes, we have the lapis lazuli crystal to help and to further assist you getting into that trance state. So the reason I have the lapis lazuli in water is to charge the water with the lapis lazuli crystal, the lapis lazuli frequency. So every time before I go to bed, I take a sip of the water to increase my divination. So that's just a little extra. But getting back to the point here, because we're not going to be here, if you were to invoke a particular spirit. So let's just say this one. We'll grab this rune here. We'll put it here. That particular rune is called Petro. And again, there's various ways to pronounce it. For those who have done their history, that is the symbol of the real society. For those who are not familiar with real society, they were a group of women who were channelers, who were oracles, who had mastery over their real energy. That's also the symbol of real. Real is the equivalent energy. But the reason I use real, because real is backed by an entire science. Because when you just say energy, you can really be talking about anything. But when you say real, you're a specific type of energy. So Pedro or Petro represents, if you were to look at it as a symbol, it would represent a grail, or as they call the Holy Grail. So you could say that's a symbol of the vagina or the yoni, femininity, mysticism, the occult lifestyle. So if I wanted to take it a step further to explore the dimensions of this particular rune, because it is a intelligence, it is a spirit. Again, this is the equivalent to energy. We know that energy is life, energy responds to thoughts. It's the same thing with the runes. It's the same thing with the tarot. It's the same thing with whichever other spiritual devices you may be utilizing. So, because I know the attributes of this particular rune, I can also use the tarot to further explore the dimensions of this particular rune. So, for example, how would I go about doing that? So, because I have identified the energy and the vibration of the rune, now I am able to pose questions that are in alignment with this particular energy. For example, if I know that this represents feminine mysticism, the occult lifestyle in terms of being an outlaw, being someone who has the ability to quantum leap, essentially. Once you have identified the attribute of the particular rune, which contains, you can say, an entire universe within its dimensions, now we can take it a step further. Now we can say, well, okay, we understand that all these are symbols of intelligence and consciousness of the mind, which is infinite because it is infinite in its variations. So you can say the 25 runes or the 24 runes represents 24 chambers of the mind, which can be further expanded upon infinitely. Because you can combine it, because essentially the runes are an alphabet, right? It is a set of 24 letters. And with those 24 letters, just like with the English alphabet, which has 26 letters, you can make an infinite amount of words with these same 26 letters. The runes is the same way. With these 24 runes, you can create all type of words, all type of intelligence to be able to work with a particular spirit. For example, once again, now that we have identified what the rune is, what the intelligence is, now as we continue to pull more cards, it will allow us to further explore the dimensions of the Holy Grail, because we know the Holy Grail holds the wine or the blood of the Christ, right? So, because the runes themselves originate in Germany, East Germany to be exact, as they say, the language of the Aryans or the language of the Atlanteans. You know, for those who have truly done the research, we know exactly what I'm speaking about. So, Grail, which contains the blood or the wine of, which represents the psychedelic realm, because we know, as they say the Christ was able to turn water into wine, and we know wine intoxicates you. Wine helps you to be placed in a trance state, not just for entertainment, not just for recreation, but to invoke the spirits within the grail or within the rooms in this case. So the wine or the holy grail represents the trance state, being able to be placed in this between state so that the spirit can communicate with you efficiently. Now, of course, these trance states can be reached in various ways. You know, wine, psychedelics, drugs, meditation, yoga, exercise, so on and so forth, ASMR, depending on your preference. But let's pull another card. Let's see, how do we tap into deeper dimensions of the grail, represented as the yoni? Let's see what the card says. Oh, what do you know? The devil comes up, which is magnetism or lure, which makes perfect sense. Because we know whenever we think of the energy of the devil, we know that this is an androgynous being. So you can say the masculinity is symbolized as the wine, the femininity is symbolized as. So to combine the masculine and the feminine is the first step, which is you don't just have the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is always filled with some type of intoxicating substance. Even if it is the blood of Christ, you know, if, okay, maybe people don't know, but if you drink blood, it puts you also in a trance state. It's not the most popular thing to do, because you know you have to go through things to get the blood. I wouldn't recommend drinking animal blood. If you choose that, I would say drink your own blood, just like if you urine therapy, you know, drink your own fluids. Don't get it from a different source. But unless you are a woman and you bleed every month, if you are a man, you probably have to go through extra steps, to get the blood. But not going too far in that direction. We know the devil represents Capricorn, the energy of Capricorn. So when we put these dimensions together, you have the Holy Grail. To go into the deeper dimensions of the Holy Grail is telling us that we have to explore the dimensions of the Capricorn or the so-called devil, which is again represented as the occult, represented as the left-hand path, represented as the Gnostics, right? The Thoth deck contains three magicians. You are absolutely right. Yes, there are three different types of Magus cards within the Thoth. Most Thoth decks come with only one Magus, but you can purchase special decks that have all three versions of the Magus. So yes, I am familiar with what you're speaking about, even though I'm not sure what that has to do with the video. But I am aware of what you're speaking about. So for anyone who is interested in that, there are three different versions of the Magician card or the Mat and the Thoth deck. Getting back on point though, because once we look at the card below, we see that we just explained the ability to spellbind people with your charisma, right? So when we further dig deeper into, okay, what does that actually mean? We know that we're dealing with magnetism. For those who may not be familiar with magnetism, we understand magnetism is the ability to draw things to you. So you can project energy, which is the masculine side, but you can also pull energy to you. So because we are representing or we're dealing with feminine energy, real energy, we understand that holy grail doesn't really move. You have to place the liquid into the holy grail. And the reason it's called the holy grail is because most of the time, holy grails were made with particular types of crystals. So you may have a lapis lazuli grail. You may have a citrine grail. You may have an emerald grail or a gold grail or a silver grail. You may have a certain crystal or metal that charges up the wine or whatever liquid or the blood you put into that holy grail is now synced with that particular attribute of those metals or crystals that the grail is composed of. So now you have alchemy going on. So because the Holy Grail represents magnetism, because you have to place the liquids into the grail doesn't go find liquid. You place the liquid into the grail. This is the basic attributes of magnetism, the ability to lure people, places, things to you versus seeking them out. But in order for you to have a magnetic charge, as you know, when we're working with metals, if you're working with pieces of steel, you may have one piece that is magnetized that draws other pieces to it. So, to wrap it all up, the ability to activate your magnetism is the first degree of understanding the Holy Grail, because the Holy Grail is comprised of metals and crystals, sometimes metals that synchronize with the liquids inside of the grail, or the liquids are infused with the attributes of the metal and the crystals that the of, which makes it a elixir. As we know, the elixir of life, the philosopher's stone, so on and so forth. That's what this is symbolizing. You having the ability to create alchemical potions, which put you in a trance state, which opens you up to spiritual communication. a brief overview of what I'm speaking on. So let's take it a step further before we tap out. Next card, the Two of Wands, dealing with enterprising and boldness. So now we're dealing more with the energy of the Aries. Now we're dealing with energy that is being produced, the ability to move at God's speed. As you see, the animal in the tarot is moving at speed. Because it's moving at God's speed, it has the ability to quantum leap. This is symbolizing quantum leap, and as we also see, it is a Two of Wands, and we know that the two is symbolized by the energy of the moon, which is pure feminine energy. So once again, although we're dealing with feminine energy, we see that the attribute of the card represents bold masculinity. So it is another androgynous card. Just like the planet Mars has rulership over Aries, but it also has rulership over Scorpio in the traditional sense. We know that, Pluto replaces Mars in the modern times. But there's a reason why Mars is connected with Aries as well as Scorpio. It is a androgynous energy. So once again, when we bring Aries, so we have Capricorn and we have Aries. These are the attributes to truly tap into the real energy, to be able to literally transform your life completely upside down and inside out. Real energy allows you to completely transform yourself. And the attributes of real is the Capricorn energy and the energy of Aries. We know that Capricorn is a master organizer or the master designer. Aries is all about perfecting your self-image. So you must design and craft your self-image and in movement. I believe that's a word, but I'm going to say it different ways. It's not. What you have to do is this: the abilities of the Capricorns being the master designer, the abilities of the Aries is all about perfecting your self-image. Your self-image is perfected from the real energy. In other words, you need energy to design anything. You need energy or you need some type of matter to alter it. So for example, this is why you have the wine and the Holy Grail. So it's not just wine in a cup. Wine in and of itself is a alchemical process. You have to take it through a process just to produce wine, which sometimes comes from grapes and berries. Alcohol is added and mixed. It has to be fermented, so on and so forth. It's a whole alchemical process. So the master design represents the alchemical process. When we get to the area being able to perfect your self-image, the self-image must be perfected or designed by the alchemical substance or the elixir of life. The elixir of life is what allows you to perfect your self-image, taps you into your real energy because it puts you in a trance state. And when you are placed in that trance state, you are able to actively communicate in higher intelligence, just as we are doing now. So we are using the tools of numerology, of astrology, the tools of the tarot, the runes, so on and so forth. We are utilizing all of these tools to gather information. As you see, there's no books on the table. It's nothing here but symbols. These symbols have infinite dimensions. So the only thing we're doing here is decoding symbols. As they say, there's every picture has 1,000 words that can be added, or every picture is worth 1,000 words. Those 1,000 words are used from symbols. Symbols, you can say, have 1,000 words. So those 1,000 words to each symbol allows you to interact with the spiritual plane or that divine intelligence because it places you in a certain dimension within those attributes or those symbols. So once again, we take it all the way back. The first card being able to utilize your charisma to spell people, places, and things. So this is going further than just manipulating people and deception and speaking about that. We're talking about natural alchemical science, the results of a cause. You be able to utilize this real energy, which is very magnetic and electric, which is very dangerous energy in its raw essence. So this energy must be refined. You must refine this real energy. As they say, this is explained through the chakra system. Chakra system is just the refinement of raw energy. As they say, the serpent is coiled around the base of the spine. We know a serpent can be very primitive or primordial. So, in order for you to refine that serpent so that it grows its wings, because you see the serpent, then you see the winged serpent, meaning that serpent that has gained wings has refined this energy so that it can be utilized in more ways than just sexually finding food, clothing, and shelter. Just a base reality. Now utilize it to stimulate your creativity. You can utilize it to stimulate your charisma. You can utilize it to stimulate your willpower. You can use it to stimulate the love frequency. You can to stimulate your connection with a higher. So this base energy, which most people only know it to be sexually based, for intimacy, so on and so forth. That same love frequency or that sex force or that real energy, that same energy that most people are familiar with through just sex, also be used for spirituality, which is symbolized with the devil's card or the Capricorn energy, being the master designer, being able to refine that serpentine force. Saturn is all about purification. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. Saturn is all about the harsh reality, the real world, real life, which is all about principles. You have to be a principled person in order to succeed in life. And my definition of success is holistic. The entirety of your life has to be designed. And in order for you to design the entirety of your life, you must live accordingly to the laws that are set before us that permeate the entirety of the universe. And when you have mastered your magnetism, why? Because we are crystals as well. The body is composed of crystals. Why? Composed of stars, or as they call carbon or melanin, which is essentially light. We are light beings by nature. We magnetic beings by nature. Magnetism keeps your body together. If there was no magnetism, your body would literally fall apart. Keeps the body together is magnetism. And that goes into the whole science of atoms, so on and so forth. Electrons, protons, neutrons, gravity, or so-called gravity. So the mastery of magnetism allows you to cultivate your boldness and that rising spirit or that warrior spirit, the spirit of the seeker or the spirit of the listener. The reason I titled this video Q&A session for the listeners, not for people who just hear, but for the people that listen, for the people who can hear between the words, hear the spirit between the words, hear the empty spaces between my voice, because that's what the true magic is. So to wrap it all up, the Knight of Cups, the Devil, and the Two of Wands explain the Holy Grail, or Petro, which represents the of the real force. the feminine nature of the real force, the occult, the mysticism of life. Being able to quantum leap, as we see with the Two of Wands here, that represents quantum because that real energy has been refined. And because that real energy has been refined, you have went from the sex god or the sex goddess to the quantum leaper. So that same force that makes you super charismatic and spellbinding because you have an abundance of sex energy. That same sex force that you have an abundance of is the building blocks of quantum leaping, being able to enterprise your entire reality as you see fit. So that is today's lesson. And again, if anyone has any questions at this point, let me know. Other than that, again, this has just been a brief introduction as to how to take your tarot reading, to take the runes, whatever spiritual devices you may have, to the next level. This is how you truly tap into that is infinitely around us all, that allows us to utilize the symbolism of divination, astrology, numerology, tarot, whatever your spiritual device is, pendulums, crystals, all these can be used in infinite ways. So don't allow the traditional sense of these tools to define what they mean to you. Because what they mean to you may be completely different than what it means to the next person. Again, some use the tarot to answer basic yes and no questions. Then some people utilize it to unlock the secrets of the universe. Question comes in. What's up, Kim from Canada? Hypnosis. What should a Virgo do with this energy? I'm a woman called to help women. Well, again, this is the symbol of actually let me show you, right? Because I had the little booklet here for those who want to do further research. So here we go here. Let me show you this. Put the pen down. There you go. So you see here, you can pronounce that however makes sense to you. We don't need to get caught up with the spelling, but it says lock cup vagina, uncertain meanings, a secret matter, a mystery, hidden things, and occult abilities, initiation, knowledge of one's destiny, knowledge of future matters, determining the future of your path, pertaining to things feminine mysteries, including female fertility and vagina, good luck, fellowship, and joy, evolutionary change. That's pure feminine energy through this rune right here. So if you're truly about helping women, that is the symbol you need. Just as a symbol, just having this symbol in your life changes everything. This is why the power of symbols are so. So if you are truly about helping women, that symbol should be in your life, in the lives of the women that you help, as a symbol that you could put on a t-shirt, a symbol that you can put on a photo, and you can put that photo up in your home. Who will unlock infinite dimensions within you and these women. What's up, Afro Pick? That's what the symbols do. They unlock infinite dimensions. So just by you having these symbols in your life will allow you to grow and develop and find hidden dimensions and meanings further than what was just explained in that booklet. So I showed the little booklet. That's just for the basic, but it goes truly beyond, because again, I just did this reading for you guys, which went beyond everything that was just said in that book. So this is how you can combine the runes with the tarot, with the crystals, with metals, so on and so forth. Because we all have these items around us. You may have a gold watch, you may have gold earrings, silver rings. We all have metals. We all have crystals. but we may just be utilizing it in a basic way. So it's to take the tools that we already have available to us. You may just have a regular plain deck of cards, as I just said. Here, you may just have this. You can get it from a dollar store. But each of these cards represent a dimension. For example, let's just flip a card over. 9. We know that that is the dimension or the ninth spear in the Kabbalah. That is, which represents the moon. The ninth sephira is the energy of the moon, which represents your foundation. If you look at the Kabbalah or the Tree of Life and you look at the ninth sephira, it represents Yesod, Y-E-D, which is the energy of the moon, which represents your foundation. If you were to put the Tree of Life on a human body, Yesod would be right at the genital area. Again, we see this completely relates to everything that we are talking about. And we know that the energy of 9 is the energy of Mars, which we have already discussed, being able to move at God's speed. So you see, even here's tarot, regular playing cards, runes, and they're all explaining the same thing. So the foundation of feminine energy can be found in your Yesod, or the genitals, or what the yoni, or the phallus for the man. You being able to pull that basic selfless energy up above the spine, not above the spine, but travel through the spine. And again, this is all symbolic. Is there really a snake at the base of your spine? No. But are there, pretty much, if you cut the body open, are you going to find chakras? No. So these energy vortexes, because chakra just means wheel or vortex. So these wheels or vortexes are purely energy based. You're not going to be able to physically find these things. You may be able to find the glands like the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the adrenaline gland, so on and so forth. You can find the gland. In terms of chakras, these exist purely on a spiritual level, or you can say it represents a specific level of the Tree of Life, a specific world on the Tree of Life, which we don't have to necessarily get into now. This is what this is representing. So these energy vortexes within the body are purely spiritual. Or you can say, what does it mean to be spiritual? It is yin energy, Y-I-N, which is feminine energy. So you can say the chakras are feminine principles because they exist in the yin realm. Yang realm is the physical realm because they do not exist in the physical realm. They exist in the yin realm. So in order for you to cultivate these wheels or these vortexes, you have to tap into your feminine nature or your yin energy or your yoni. So for a male, that will mean you penetrating the yoni, because obviously you don't have one yourself, but you can interact with it through your women or woman if you are one woman guy. So because you hear these stories about, men praying to the yoni. You hear about, women putting yoni eggs inside, to cultivate, it's to cultivate the spiritual attributes, because again, you have yoni eggs that are composed of many crystals, right? For the women who are into that science, they know exactly what I'm speaking about. You can have a yoni egg composed of any type of crystal, citrine, lapis lazuli, gold, silver, just depending on what your taste is. So you having gold as a woman, you having gold inside you, or silver inside, or lapis lazuli, citrine, carnelian, emerald, so on and so forth. That changes your frequency. And you notice when you have sexual relations with your partner or partners, you will notice a profound difference because you are interacting with crystals and metals. Once again, Holy Grail. The whole is comprised of metals and crystals, just like the human body. The human body is comprised of metals and crystals. You have gold, silver, all these things that we already speak about are already present to a certain degree inside the body. So when you put yoni eggs and things of that nature inside you, it changes your entire frequency. Again, for those who want to science, know exactly what I'm speaking about. So for the males or the men, you interacting with your woman. Some men even have like piercings on their phallus. Some use sex tools and sex, to wrap around, their balls. I'm not even trying to go in that direction in the video, but just as an example, there's many different ways to stimulate that energy so that it is put up through the spiritual channels, as they call nadis. The nadis within the human body are not physical, but they exist. They are spiritual channels, or some people call them meridians. You have meridians in the body, or nadis, that are channels that can be overwhelmed by all the stress of the world so that they get clawed. So in order for you to loot, to shake up that stagnated energy that has been built up in the nadis or the meridians, what spiritual work is for. For those who may not know, spiritual work is to release the static energy in your meridians or nadis. That's how you cultivate your psychic ability. That's how you come in tune with the universe or the world. You feel more at ease. You feel more connected to the divine intelligence when your nadis are clear, because you're putting in that spiritual work by utilizing the tools that you have for you. Understand that there are many different layers of reality. So at the end of the day, again, I'm literally just throwing spiritual tools together. But you see, it may look like I'm just randomly putting things together. They all connect. This is why we don't just stop with tarot readings or rune readings or playing card readings or crystal ball gazing. We always seek to combine all of these sciences into one great science, which is what the great work represents. The alchemical work of turning lead into gold is to connect things that normally have no connection and make them connect. And when you make them connect, you start to discover newer attributes that were utilized. So when you combine these spiritual sciences, or I don't even want to call it spiritual science, I call it magic science for all my alchemists out there. The magic science. An alchemist is a master of magic science. Magic science is just yin and yang. Magic is yin, science is yang. A master of the yin and yang, the masculine and the feminine, the devil or the Baphomet. Regardless of what you want to call it, the master of Saturn, which is the oldest planet. Saturn is the blackened sun, the magnetic sun. You got the electric sun, but then you got the magnetic sun, which is Saturn. Saturn actually plays a role that we give it credit for. Is some people just call it, it's just another planet like every other planet. You know, they even sometimes say that Saturn's rings are beginning to thin. Nonetheless, we understand that the coldness of Saturn, the magnetism of Saturn, is unlike any other planet in the solar system. Last video, you said Satan is a girl. As we know it, is a woman. Why? I'll give you the reason why. when we take the religious aspects out of it, so let's just take the religious aspects. Let's not make it a good or bad thing. If Saturn is utilized as a symbol of the devil, when we look at the Saturn card in the Thoth deck, which I'll show you right now since I have the deck right before me, when we look at the Saturn card in the Thoth deck, you clearly see a woman playing with a snake, right? This is the symbol of Saturn. Woman playing with the snake. As you see, in one hand she has the moon, in another hand she has the sun. Dualism. We know that the universe is infinite. The universe is an infinite womb. So Satan or Saturn, the light bearer, so for light within the darkness, the stars within this dark universe is feminine. Because if there was no night, if it was pure masculine, you would not be able to see stars because it would be too much light. It's only when the blackness of the night overtakes the skies that you are able to see the brilliance of the stars. Which is why when you look at this, you see a lot of illuminated vessels. There's certain things that are not seen, but again, you see stars all around this car, but you can see them because of the darkness. So yes, it's easy to get Satan and Lucifer confused because again, once you put the religious aspect on it and people have fun with all this stuff. It's always, we gotta, as soon as we start talking about this Satan, you hear the Saturn or the sirens. And we know there's a reason why it's called sirens. And we know who the sirens are, which are women who seduce men to death, for those who are into Greek mythology. So when you hear police officers and all this, not hear police, when you hear the sirens, that is symbolic Greek mythology. Just a chorus for those who didn't know. Because when people hear those sirens, they get real tense. They start being on their best behavior when you should have been doing it in the first place. But nonetheless, back on point. That's why the universe card is symbolized as a woman. I also did a video called The Forbidden Religion High Belly on the website, which goes further into detail into why that is whole feminine energy and combining the masculine with the feminine. So be sure to watch that video if you are a member of the website, if you want further information on that dynamic. So wrap it all up, because we're getting pretty low on battery. Combine the spiritual tools to find new connections and dimensions. Because at the end of the day, go ahead and type your question again. Because I didn't see the question. So if I miss anything, go ahead and type it again. Because we'd be here maybe about 5 minutes, if that. If the battery lasts long enough, we can make it an hour. So you got 5 to ask whatever you want to ask. So at the end of the day, whether you're reading the back of the tarot card, the front of the tarot card, the runes, you gazing into the crystal balls, whatever you do, they can be utilized as one sign. And when you combine them as one, then it is what it is. Getting your notifications even though the bell is on. Again, YouTube is all about politics. So you have to seek it. So for anybody who's not getting notifications and all that, you have to seek it. You have to seek it. We can't depend on this YouTube algorithm. If you truly want the videos, you have to seek it out. You have to seek it out. Like don't allow the algorithm. Okay, the algorithm is going to do everything for me. I get to tap the notification bell and everything is good. That's how we want things to be, but that's just not how it goes. YouTube has certain videos and they promote other ones. So the whole thing is just it's all artificial intelligence. So it's not going to work the way you work and the way our minds work and the way our emotions work. So you just have to take it upon yourself, seek out information, and go beyond the algorithm. But to go to the previous question, the Joker a master builder or an alchemist? So I'm not sure what you're speaking about in terms of the Joker. You're talking about the magician card? Are you talking about the tarot? Or like Joker are you speaking about? I'm not really sure where you're going with that. High powered Kindred spoke of him death into existence. Why is he still around? I'm not sure what you're speaking. Rob, I'm not I'm not really you're not making yourself clear enough for me to really comprehend what you're saying. What do you mean by the Joker? What do you mean by Kendrick Lamar and high power? What do those things have to do with? I'm not sure where you're going with that. So hopefully you can clarify what you're speaking about. But nonetheless, you plan to do more videos in this nature, just being able to show how all of these things work instead of just having a camera on all the time. Y'all know how I look. It's nothing new. To get deeper into these tools, we're going to get deeper into the science, because this is the time is over for playing around, for trying to look cool on camera, do all this and all that. We're going to get into this spirituality. We're going to get into deepest magic science to explore new dimensions and formulate new connections that were previously unknown and hidden. So on that note, we will be checking out. Again, I don't plan on doing too many live streams. I just want to do a Q&A for the month of February. And I will do these videos as I am as I'm expired. Like how X spoke of him death, Kendrick did something similar. What does that have with the Joker though? And I'm not sure what the correlation is with Kendrick Lamar and X about speaking their death into existence. I mean, this it's a science that most people would never understand because, as I said, or most people look at as most people look at that as is something wrong with speaking your death into existence, but it really isn't. Which is why people do it. People walk around with death wishes. So whoever has a death wish and they speak their death into existence, it is what it is. If that's what their heart desires, then so be it. Do you experiment with gamma waves, binaural beats, and isochronicals? My very first videos channel were isochronic tones, so I produce isochronic tones, so I'm very familiar. There's maybe about 10 or 15 isochronic tones, that I have on my YouTube channel. So you can just type in isochronic tones, and I have a bunch of those, so I'm very familiar with the science. Just different questions I wrote pre-hand. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but just the whole speaking your death to existence. If that's something you want to do, nobody is stopping you. It don't matter if you're famous, rich, not be speaking their death to existence if they did not want to die anyway. If they were not already a tormented soul. We saw this with X and we saw this with Tupac, where these are very tormented souls. They were not comfortable with the reality that they were placed in. After all, Tupac's opposition to get to the position that he was in so that he would be legendary. But again, I spoke more about, speaking your death into existence in the death magic. I spoke more about that on my video entitled Machiavelli Magic Part 2. So if you're check out my video Machiavelli Magic Part 2, which was recorded on Tupac's death date, September, I believe, 13th of last